An investigative journalist is trying to tell American citizens to wake up because Israel is not their friend. And the creator here says they're just loyal to their taxes. So this journalist goes down recent history to talk about what Israel has done to the United States. Whereas the United States failed to come out because they did not want to embarrass their ally. Because he also talks about how Israel participated in the 9/11 incident, but yet the United States still considers Israel as their strategic ally. In the end, it will just make you think that Israel might be controlling the United States. So let me roll this video and I'm gonna be back.
Some people will balk when you explain to them that Israel was involved in 9/11 and you talk about this. They'll say, oh no, Israel wouldn't do that. You know, there's many Christian Zionists in this country who say, no, Israel's our strategic ally. I would just point out they should read some history. In 1967, in the Six-Day War, on June 8th, Israeli military, Air Force, and Navy viciously attacked a ship called the USS Liberty, which was an unarmed American spy ship under the NSA off the coast of Egypt in international waters. And it was flying an oversized American flag, and the Israeli pilots were flying over the ship. They'd been buzzing over it all morning long before the attack began. And then the attack began. They hit it with a torpedo in the middle, killing 34 Americans. Then they bombed it, dropped napalm. And there was recently, or a couple years ago, the transcripts came out between the pilots and ground control. And the pilots' ground control in Tel Aviv said, identify the plane, identify the ship. And the planes called back and said, it's American, it's American. And then the command came from Tel Aviv, sink the ship, no survivors. So they intended to put this ship on the bottom of the ocean, but it was one of those old World War II Liberty hull ships, which have good compartments underneath, and it didn't go down. The torpedo went right in the middle of the ship and killed all of the guys down below with the headphones on that were interpreting what the signal's intelligence. Killed all of them, but the ship didn't sink. But when the Americans tried to put life rafts into the water, the Israeli gunboats were machine gunning the life rafts. They had no intention. They intended the ship to go down the bottom, and had it gone to the bottom, it would have been blamed on Egypt, and this would have brought us very close to a nuclear war. But that's another story. This was Lyndon Johnson was in the White House, and he was very, very pro-Israel, and so twice American planes were launched from aircraft carriers off the coast of Greece to rescue the ship, and twice McNamara and Johnson called the planes back. He said, "I will not embarrass an ally." So 171 Americans were brutally wounded on the ship and 34 killed. And that little piece of history is not generally well known in America because it's not taught. It's simply suppressed. So 7 countries in 5 years. This is General Wesley Clark, and he went to the Pentagon 10 days after 9/11. He said, and he said, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. And he said, one of the generals called me in and said, sir, we've made the decision we're going to war with Iraq. And he said, we're going to war with Iraq? Why? I don't know, he said. He said, I came back a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? He said, sir, it's much worse than that. We're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq, then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran. And he said this in March 2007 in several speeches. Now, you can see from that shopping list, 5 of those nations have already been done. Lebanon is already pretty much broken up along ethnic lines. And really the only one that's left is Iran. And you see with our current president, Donald Trump, he's very gung-ho, actually, in at least what he says, in waging war with Iran. Now, waging war with Iran would be disastrous for us and for the whole region, so I hope he doesn't do that. I hope he has enough sense to avoid that kind of thing. But this is the shopping list. Now, whose shopping list is this? What American interest is it? Wesley Clark was confused. What American interest is it in overthrowing these 7 Middle Eastern countries? Well, it's an Israeli plan, and it's called the Yinon Plan, named after the guy who wrote it, Oded Yinon. Oded Yinon published this in an Israeli magazine called Kivunim in 1982 in February. And Kivunim is the journal for Judaism and Zionism. It's published in Jerusalem by the World Zionist Organization. That's the very top of the Zionist enterprise. Like I said, that's the state of Israel. Zionism is the ideology upon which Israel is based. And the Yinon plan, according to the man who translated, Israel Shahak, a professor of chemistry, he said it represents the accurate and detailed plan of the present Zionist regime, the Likud, for the Middle East, which is based on the division of the whole area into small states and the dissolution of all existing Arab states. So what it means is something called Balkanization. You break up a country, a big country, and you reduce it to ethnic components, like what we've done in Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia was a large socialist state, in southeastern Europe, and now today it's, I think, 7 little statelets. Iraq is de facto 3 states today. Kurdistan in the north, the ISIS area, Sunni area in the west, and the Shiite area in the south. Syria is very fragmented. Whether it stays that way or not, we'll see. Tripoli, Libya has been fractured into 2 or 3 pieces. Sudan is now de facto or de jure 2 countries, South Sudan and Sudan. Somalia is chaos. Yemen is chaos. The whole Middle East is chaotic. We don't see it that much because our media is more interested in manipulating our point of view than informing us of what's happening. But a day doesn't go by that some terrible atrocity doesn't happen in one of those countries. So this is the Yinon plan. And thanks to Israel Shahak, a personal friend of mine, in 1982 he translated this document into English so that we would understand what the Zionist policy or plan was for the region. So after 9/11, the Israeli connection, of course, became more pronounced. And here you have at the White House, you have at the Pentagon, you have something called the Defense Policy Board. And the Defense Policy Board is a bunch of civilians, basically at that time neocons, Jewish neocons, who made policy for the Pentagon. And the head guy was Deputy Defense Minister Secretary Wolfowitz at the head of the table here. And across the table, smiling with the mustache, that's Rabbi Dov Zakheim. And he was the comptroller at the Pentagon. You might recall he was the man who said the day before, he was the comptroller of the funds. The day before 9/11, Rumsfeld told the public that there's missing $2.3 trillion, unaccountable, in the defense budget. That was on September 10th, 2001. He announced that. And sitting next to the Israeli man there, the Israeli man is the guy with the red beret. He's the Shaul Mofaz, an Iranian Jewish guy. And he was chief of staff. He's Israeli chief of staff. And here he is sharing notes, explaining to his Zionist colleagues at the Defense Department what they should do. And the man with something in his eye, that's Douglas Feith. Douglas Feith, his father was in the Irgun. He's an American, but his dad was in the Irgun. And because his father was an Israeli, he is also then an Israeli as well.
Now, it's very surprising that after all these things that have been spoken here and this history that they haven't been talking about, of all the things that Israel has been doing, I don't know, this is just a short video. There's probably more that shows more evidence of whatever Israel has been doing. The United States still says that it's its strategic ally. Like, I really don't get it. And by October this year, we had seen that the United States has been supporting Israel, not only financially, but also diplomatically and militarily. And even at the White House, Biden literally said, we stand with Israel and so on, and we'll make sure that Israel has what it needs to take care of its citizens, defend itself, and respond to this situation. I just inserted another word there because of YouTube. Speaking of financial assistance, the United States has contributed about a total of $158 billion, not adjusted for inflation, since WW2. Now, I have researched about why United States just looks so consistent with some history that has been explained here, consistent with its relationship with Israel, and I'm not yet finding like a concrete answer as to why it has been like that. And once I find something, I'll definitely be back to share. So you guys, why do you think this relationship is ongoing like this? Why do you think the United States is still assisting Israel, even with the things that have been spoken of that Israel has done towards the United States? I would like to know, so make sure you guys comment below and let's just share what's going on. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, consider subscribing and let's get to 10K by the end of this year.